Hi doctors, there is a drug called Cinacalcet hydrochloride. So this drug comes under category of calcimimetics. The side effect of this drug is hypocalcemia. So this is where an interesting concept lies. See, this is actually, it looks like a calcium supplementation, but side effect of this drug is hypocalcemia. So let us try to understand what is the mechanism of calcimimetics and what is its indication. So here is the thyroid gland, and on its posterior surface you can clearly see 4 parathyroid glands. So what is the function of this parathyroid glands? It secretes parathyroid hormone. Okay, so let me draw a parathyroid gland and with its cells here. Okay, so if this is a single cell of parathyroid gland, on the cells we do have a receptor. And these receptors present on the parathyroid cells are called calcium sensing receptors. What is the relationship between parathyroid gland and the calcium levels in the body? The main function of this parathyroid hormone, which is secreted by parathyroid gland, is it helps in maintaining calcium metabolism. That means if the calcium levels are low in the body, there is increased secretion of parathyroid hormone. And this parathyroid hormone helps in increasing levels of the calcium in the body by increasing absorption of the calcium from the gut and also increasing resorption of the calcium from the bone, and also it acts on the kidney and there is less loss of calcium. So these are all the main functions of the parathyroid hormone. How this functions takes place? So the level of calcium in the body, this calcium goes and binds to the calcium sensing receptor. So the amount of calcium binding to this receptor, so this receptor will detect the levels, and based on that it will decide whether to release parathyroid hormone or not, right? So what is hyperparathyroidism then? Hyperparathyroidism is excess release of parathyroid hormone. In primary hyperparathyroidism, the parathyroid gland itself has some issues, that is parathyroid hyperplasia or parathyroid tumors. They release more amount of parathyroid hormone, and this is nothing to do with body levels of calcium, right? In secondary hyperparathyroidism, this is a bit different. Secondary hyperparathyroidism is because of low levels of calcium in the body. So whenever there is low levels of calcium, the calcium sensing receptor will detect these levels and it starts secreting parathyroid hormone. This leads to secondary hyperparathyroidism. If I want to give you a sentence, secondary hyperparathyroidism is actually a metabolic response to correct calcium hemostasis, right? It is actually correcting the levels of the calcium. The same secondary hyperparathyroidism has causes, that is decreased calcium absorption from the gut, that is malabsorption syndromes, because vitamin D helps in calcium absorption. Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. In malabsorption syndromes, fat soluble vitamins are not absorbed. This leads to secondary hyperparathyroidism. Another cause for secondary hyperparathyroidism is CKD, chronic kidney disease. What happens in chronic kidney disease? There is actually decreased conversion of 25 hydroxy vitamin D3 to 1,25 hydroxy vitamin D3. This conversion takes place in the kidneys. Because the kidney cells are not functioning, this conversion is not happening and there is no active vitamin D available for proper functioning of calcium metabolism. So this leads to decreased entry of calcium into the body, leading to hypocalcemia. And other mechanism is because of inadequate excretion of the phosphate from the body, the phosphate gets deposited in the kidneys along with the available calcium. So the calcium is packed, that is it is blocked from the blood and it is segregated into the tissues. So this leads to nephrocalcinosis and also metastatic calcification. All these things, that is decreased levels of vitamin D and also metastatic calcification, leads to low levels of calcium in the blood. So this leads to hypocalcemia, and this hypocalcemia response is taken up by calcium sensing receptors and they start releasing PTH, parathyroid hormone. Now you know what is primary, what is secondary hyperparathyroidism. What happens in tertiary hyperparathyroidism? In tertiary is a next step in secondary In secondary, you take CKD, kidney disease. What happens? PTH is increased because of low levels of calcium with the help of calcium sensing receptors. If this is chronic, in later stages what happens? This calcium sensing receptors, they lose their ability to detect calcium level in the body. So when they lose their ability, what happens? Irrespective of the blood levels of the calcium, whatever it may be the levels, the body starts secreting PTH. So no matter what is the level of the calcium, there is PTH available, leading to tertiary hyperparathyroidism. Why are we discussing this primary, secondary, tertiary hyperparathyroidism when it comes to calcimimetics? See, this calcimimetics, what is that example which I told you? The calcimimetic example is Cinacalcet hydrochloride. This acts on calcium sensing receptors of the parathyroid hormone. And what do they do? They simulate calcium. What do they do? They simulate calcium. Because of the simulation, because of their structural similarity to the calcium, this calcium sensing receptors thinks that there is adequate calcium in the body, and they stop or they decrease secretion of parathyroid hormone. So can I say calcimimetics are indicated in secondary hyperparathyroidism, right? Because secondary hyperparathyroidism only is related to calcium sensing. I cannot use it in primary, because primary is because of overfunctioning of the parathyroid gland. I cannot use it in tertiary, because the tertiary, there is loss of control. Calcium sensing receptor is no longer functioning here. So indication for calcimimetic, that is Cinacalcet, is secondary hyperparathyroidism. Now it becomes easy for you to understand why there is hypocalcemia on usage of Cinacalcet. Cinacalcet is given orally on a daily basis, and this hypocalcemia is because the parathyroid hormone is not getting secreted. If it is not getting secreted, you will see low calcium in the body. Though there is low calcium, PTH is not coming because the calcimimetic is acting on calcium sensing receptors. So low body calcium is a side effect of usage of calcimimetics.